Hi, this is Dan. I came across this video that Shuffett made called Straightening Out the Shot Part 2. And I've got this little analysis tool on my cell phone that I use for myself, and it's really helped me out a lot. And I'm trying to figure out this CTE Pro 1 stuff, and we're going back and forth on the internet. And, I thought this would be a good example for trying to see what's really going on here. Now, I realize it's kind of ridiculous for me to be critiquing one of the best shot makers in the country. But hopefully, Stan, if you see this, you can appreciate some of the things I'm seeing if you haven't already. So you might want to review the original video before watching this, because I've sort of skipped through to the parts I wanted to talk about. In this first shot, Stan is illustrating a half ball hit. And the first thing I have to say is I don't think he's shooting a half ball hit on this shot. On the right side of those four balls, the 1, 2, 3, and 5 balls, those are, let's see, the number 3 ball is a half a diamond away from the center pocket. And Stan is saying that that's a half ball hit. I don't think it is. I think the 2 ball is a half ball hit. I set this shot up, and it goes fat. When you hit it at the number 3 ball's position, that 12 ball is going to hit the bottom rail. And I'm pretty confident that I'm right about that I think the 2 ball is actually a half ball hit, basically the center of the table. So you've got the cue ball 1 diamond up from the center of the table. If you put a ball at the center of the table, in my opinion, that's a true half ball hit. So let's see what happens on this shot. The first shot that he's demonstrating is a straight non-CTE type shot. Just step up and shoot it like he says he used to do. And I'm going to zoom in on this. Now the first thing I want to show you is that on the left I've got some timers. There's 4 shots that he's going to make, and this just helps me zero in on exactly where I want to go to see the next shot. So that's just a clock for me, for my reference. Now you also see a red line to the right of the cue, and that's along, I placed that line along the practice stroke line, along the right edge of the cue. If I put it right over the cue, it's kind of hard to see what the cue is actually doing. So I just set it to a slight offset, and you'll see what I mean. Also, it's a little hard to see, but there's a little red dot right over the thumb. And I put that there to give an idea of where the hand is being positioned, the bridge hand on each shot. And I can talk more about that in a minute. So this first shot Stan is saying is a half ball hit, which I believe is actually not a half ball hit. And if you do use it, if you hit it as a half ball, you're going to hit it fat. So if I forward, I'm going to scroll through now, and you can see I'm going to be going back and forth a little bit, and I'll try to tell you when I'm doing that so I don't confuse you. But so here I'm going back and forth, backwards, forwards, forwards. Okay, that's the shot. Now what I want to show you is Stan just does a little sort of short warm-up shot right here, and he's along, okay, back and forth, he's along that line. I'm making the cue go back and forth. Now when he actually hits the shot, right here, what's happening? He's swooping the cue with outside English, fairly significantly. So you can see right there that the tip is way off, and then he kind of rebounds from that with kind of a big swoop in the opposite direction. So personally what I think is happening is that he sees that it's really not a half ball hit, it's going to be fat, and his subconscious is telling him that he's hitting it fat and you better put some outside English on it. It's just my theory. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next shot. So I'm going to scroll ahead so I can get that second number down to 0. And what Stan is doing in this case, I'm sorry, I overshot a little. This is a bit of stream of consciousness presentation here because I can't edit anything. Okay, so now we're on the second shot, and I'm going to zoom back. It's the same shot, except now he's demonstrating the CTE method with the 12 ball, which is across from the 3, which he is saying is a half ball hit, and I'm saying is not a half ball hit, that it's going to go fat. So if we zoom back in, okay, we've got the practice stroke is nice and straight right along that red line. I'm going to go backward and forward so you can see right along that line. And now when it comes to shoot, okay, right there, it pulls in. Look at the tip of the cue. It's swooping towards right English, right there. And you see the butt end of the cue right under his chin is going to the right, and the tip of the cue is going to the left, just like the shot before it, a little less extreme. And there's the follow through showing the tip is off to the left side of the red line. So again, possibly subconsciously he sees that it's going to be fat, and he automatically adjusts for that by putting outside English on it. Okay, so now the next shot, we're going to fast forward. Okay, so now he's setting up the shot, which is across from the 2 ball, which, in my opinion, is a half ball hit. And he's saying that he's going to have to hit it a little fat. It's a fatter shot. So, let me zoom in. Oops. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay. Right now, so you can actually see the object ball in this case here. So this is really, in my opinion, a half ball hit, and he takes a shorter stroke here, just one little warm-up stroke here. Right, here's a warm-up stroke, and then he shoots it. Now there is a little wobble to it, but not, I don't see anything as dramatic as I did before. And again, what I think is happening is he just knows subconsciously that this is a half ball hit, and that's where he's aiming, and that's where the cue wants to go. Now the other thing I didn't mention, I forgot to mention, in all these shots you notice that little red circle where his thumb is. It's in the same position every time. So for the last 3 shots with the non-CTE shot and with the 2 CTE shots he's just demonstrated, his thumb is almost in the identical same spot. I don't know if that's supposed to be there or not. If he's sweeping in from the left side with a half a tip, shouldn't the bridge hand be a half a tip over to his left or our right more? I'm not an expert, so I don't know. I'm just posing the question. But what I'm seeing is a bridge hand in the identical same spot, whether it's a CTE shot or not. Okay, so now let's go on to the last shot, and I'm going to zoom out. Now here's the shot that's furthest away. Okay, down where the 5 ball is. And this shot is definitely going to go fat if it's a half ball hit. So let me zoom back in. Now in this shot, I'm going to have to add another reference line to make things easier to see. So let me do that now. Okay. So now we're going to do the warm-up stroke. Goes right in between those 2 lines, nice and straight. I'm going to go backwards now just to repeat that. Okay, so the warm-up strokes are right along the line. The thumb is right in the same spot it always is. Okay, now we're going to make the shot. Right here. When he takes the cue back, he has a tendency to pull it in more. So, to me, it looks like, see after the shot, you see the wiggle of the cue? Something's a little not right there, not steady. He hits him fairly hard. So I don't know if there's enough spin being put on the cue ball, a little outside spin to throw that shot in, or what's happening there. That particular case is not as clear to me. But I guess that concludes it. For me, there were a couple unusual things. One was that the thumb was in the same spot, whether it was a CTE shot or non-CTE shot. And the other is that on the two shots that were supposed to be half-ball hits, but really weren't half-ball hits, he was putting right English on that cue ball, or directing the cue more to the right to throw the cue ball off to the right direction to compensate for what may have just not looked quite right. Whereas in the shot where he thought it was a fatter hit, it was actually a half-ball hit. And in my opinion, that particular stroke was probably the best one. And the last stroke, the fourth one, there's a little wobble there, but it's really, to me, to be honest, it's a little inconclusive. So I hope it's interesting. I hope Stan doesn't mind that I did this little critique of him without asking him. But I find it very interesting, and hopefully some good discussion will come out of it. Thanks for listening.